You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
Not going to lie to you. I've got butterflies. The Major League Baseball season is here. The Jays kick off their season Thursday, and Keegan Matheson joins us. Keegan, you survived Florida.
I did. Are the butterflies for me or the baseball, Dan? I think I'm going to give them myself here, but I made it. I'm home. This is my home, not a hotel. So this is a really big moment for me.
And you arrived back to snow.
Man, I'll take it. I loved it. I'm a cold weather man as a big man, so when I was waiting for my Uber, wearing my very Florida, floral shirt the other night, man, I'm happy to be back. There's such thing as too much Florida. I know that I will not get sympathy for this, but it starts to get into your bones, man. You got to get out of there eventually, but 40 nights. I was hugging hotel staff. Once you start receiving mail at the hotel, you know you've been there too long.
Yeah, those are tough goodbyes. You form a family. Hey, but the Jays, they won the Grapefruit League. They were the best team.
Big moment, man. And I created a monster with that accidentally. When I flew home from Toronto at the airport bar, where I spent a couple minutes, on the airplane, and then when I get home to TSA, going through the TSA security with my passport, getting asked about the golden grapefruit. And I'm telling people, I just made it up. I was losing my mind in Florida, and I made the mistake of saying a name that was a little too catchy. I had players asking me about it. I had other media giving me crap because they mentioned it on the air thinking it was real. So I think at this point it might be. But man, they had some fun with it. John Schneider especially enjoyed giving me crap for the golden grapefruit. But man, if I'm going to be there the whole time, the games have to matter for something. I know spring doesn't matter, but I've got to pretend,
Now, what's going to happen when you see on opening night they reveal a golden grapefruit banner in the rafters?
You know what? They've hung some wild card participation banners. Yeah. This would not be all that different. This at least involved winning a baseball game. So I'm in. Okay. The spotlight will shine up in the press box. But man, it was a fun spring. And if you're going to play games, you might as well win them.
Yeah, exactly. Before we get into the Jays lineup, the Property Brothers, as I call Shapiro and Atkins, we're at it again. Another renovation, and you saw it down the right field line. You can go get a drink. You can go stand in behind the outfield wall. It looks like a pretty cool vantage point.
It is, man. And I'll be honest, my aim has been kind of off with a few of these spaces because they're not for me. But they're not supposed to be for me, and that doesn't matter. I think of my buddies who are casual baseball fans. I think of my girlfriend who, God bless her, doesn't like baseball, but might want to go out and have a drink and be around the stadium, the noise. And that area is pretty cool, honestly. You get down in there, they had the highlight of this, they had the old mascot. They had Domer there. You can go take a picture with. But some cool cocktails, which I sampled many of at about 10 a.m., which was a really tough day at work. But good food, good area. The space itself is cooler than I thought it would be. I thought it was just a kind of flat, unused space, but you can see the field all right. People are going to really like it, I think, going down in there. It is neon and bright and loud, and it's when I go to a ball game, if I were to go as a fan, I'm the boring type. I would, buy 3 beer in the first inning and just sit and stare. I know not everybody is like me, so I think that spot is pretty cool. And what I loved, especially as I look now, because for folks watching at home, my entire desk around me, I'm surrounded by stacks of baseball cards that I have not yet organized. There they had an entire wall, went a couple of stories high, just of baseball cards, of Blue Jays baseball cards. So you can try to find some guys. I found some beautiful Buck Martinez mustache cards along the way. But that was really cool, and I'm currently, I'm trying to do that to this room myself. We'll see how that negotiation goes, but
check for the Al Oliver. I remember the Al Oliver baseball card. It was just a extreme close-up of his head.
They don't make ball players like they used to, man. I've collected all the old team sets, and I look back at the 77, 78 OPC sets, and those men are not in Major League Baseball anymore. Those men are not in pro sports anymore. They lived more like I live, a little less than how the players today live, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What was I going to ask you? Hang on. It was on the tip of my tongue. Oh, yeah, the mascot. You said they brought the mascot back. I thought I thought you were going to say B.J. Birdie was back.
B.J. Birdie, he might be somewhere else. But
I think he was sent out behind the shed and put down.
They gave B.J. Birdie the old yeller. I think Ace had to give him, he's my bird, Pa, I'll do it. And they took him out behind the dumpsters, never to be heard of again. But Domer is up there, the happy turtle. And he's up there with like a photo booth. It's very Instagrammable, if that's your jam. Okay. But, man, Domer is back. Never left.
Well, the real story about B.J. Birdie is the guy owned the costume and they didn't want to buy it off him. So they're like, okay, we'll just get a new mascot.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Lower budget back in that day.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into this Jays lineup.
Okay.
There's 8 new Jays. And the one creating the most noise is Alan Roden. Tell us about this guy who wasn't predicted to make the roster, but he earned his way onto it in spring training.
He's going to be everybody's new favorite ball player, honestly. I really think he will be. And Alan Roden, he was their number 5 prospect coming in. He was their minor league hitter of the year. And this front office loves him. Like, they have held him up as the golden boy, the poster boy of what player development looks like. Because not only is he their type of hitter, which think like Spencer Horwitz-y type of a really good approach, really good control of the zone, a bit of power, but more on base over power. What's exciting about Roden, though, is that he can do this as an outfielder and a legit outfielder. In both corners, maybe center if you're desperate on a day. But an incredible young man as well. Like, very, very intelligent. He has the physics background with a lot of big words that fly over all of our heads. I believe both parents, teachers as well. But really impressive young man. And he was the star of spring training. And it got to a point where he had to make this team. At the start of spring, I won't pretend to be smarter than anything on this. I did not think he would make the roster. I would have given it the 10% chance. Maybe. He had an unbelievable spring training. And when he does that, he checks off all the other boxes. And the maturity and the mental makeup is a big part of this. Because I've been around lots of prospects over the years who have all the physical tools, but they might not be the most trustworthy guy when it comes to maturity or how they're going to handle the spotlight, the attention, me being in their face every single day with a microphone. That's a big part of it. How a young man, a young player is going to handle life in the big leagues, in a big market. I think Roden will handle that beautifully. And he changes.
I also want to check to see how many other Allens have played for the Jays.
Not a ton. I'm trying to think the last one. Alan Hansen might be the last one.
Don't even remember him.
Going back through. Yeah. No, I wish I didn't have these things in my brain. But man, I think he also, guys, has the potential to be the leadoff hitter, which is what makes this exciting.
Okay.
The Blue Jays are lacking a legitimate classic leadoff hitter. Having Bo as the leadoff guy, that's cool. That's exciting. You're blitzing a pitcher. You're trying to punch them in the face right away. But if Roden can develop into that leadoff guy, this lineup looks a lot cooler. It looks a lot deeper, a lot better. And his playing style, his personality, I think are really going to click with people. And this team, my God, when's the last starting outfielder this team developed? Like Vernon Wells? Like, how far back are we going here? So it's been a minute, man. And everybody in the organization loves this dude. Coaches, player development guys, front office. Normally, when a prospect comes up, at least a few people have talked crap about him to me. Nobody's done that with Alan Roden. Everybody loves the dude.
And we also have 2 new Jays, Miles Straw and Anthony Santander. We haven't seen these guys in Jays uniforms yet.
Yeah, Straw came under circumstances that I almost feel bad for because he was attached to that Roki Sasaki attempt. And that's not his fault. But what he did is he came into camp, he looked really good, and now he can be a bit of that Daulton Varsho fill-in for the Blue Jays. Really good defender. If he hits, bonus. Great. Anthony Santander, I think, was a great deal this offseason, frankly. And for people who have that, like Teoscar Hernandez-shaped hole in their heart, it's Santander. He's here to fill it, man. He has the personality. He has a little flair to his game, which I love. And he has power, man, which is what this team needs. It's what they've needed all along to add more power. And having Santander behind Vladdy and behind Bo, like this dude could drive in 100 runs in his sleep this year, I would hope. Because having those two in front of you is a dream for a hitter. So this helps the lineup. Santander is the one that helps the lineup. You still need a guy like Roden or Addison Barger or Relvis Martinez, somebody else to do something. But he's coming off a 44-homer season. The Blue Jays need power. Seems like a pretty easy fit.
I like the way how Santander is supposed to be pronounced instead of the way I said it.
It's
Santander. Santander. Sounds like a mysterious character in a movie.
I like it.
We also get to see in the infield our big off-season pickup, Andres Gimenez.
He is a wild defender. Listen, I know people want to hear home runs. I know people want to see that big, loud, Vladdy style of baseball. This guy is immediately going to be one of the best defenders in Blue Jays history, period.
Wow.
Daulton Varsho is up there as well as one of the all-time greats. But Andres Gimenez, I believe when MLB did a player poll this spring, he was voted by fellow players, who are a hell of a lot smarter than me, as the best defender in baseball. Like, he is that good on the infield. Now, same conversation with Varsho. He is infield Daulton Varsho in every way. Is he going to hit? I don't know. There is a little bit of power in there. A couple of years ago in Cleveland, he hit. If he does that, he's one of the most valuable players on this team. But even if he just hits a little bit and gives value on the bases where he can steal you 30, he's fast, his defensive value is huge. Now, I think that Gimenez, Dan, did not benefit from when his move happened, because that was at the winter meetings when everybody wanted the Blue Jays to get Juan Soto. And then all of a sudden, here's another second baseman who plays defense well. Everyone's thinking, come on, there's enough of that. But I think that very quickly, for folks who grew up loving like a guy like Orlando Hudson, those type of incredible defensive second basemen, he's got that, but with a ceiling, man. He is a brilliant defender, and so good that you can notice it when he's taking ground balls. I think that'll rub off on people, and it also allows Bo's life to be a little easier, and Vladdy's life. Vladdy only makes mistakes defensively when he gets way too eager, and Vladdy loves to get eager, but when he tries to chase a ball over towards second base, now the rule with Vladdy is that he is not allowed to take a step in that direction. Either you stand still or you go to first base. Andres Gimenez will do everything else. It's going to help everybody. Incredible baseball player.
That's like the wandering goalie rule. Just stay where you're supposed to be. What is the update? The injury update on Varsho, because he is not with the team because of injury reasons.
That's right. So this is a shoulder thing. He had shoulder surgery last year, and Dan, we're normally talking about this with pitchers. With an outfielder, it's kind of strange. So I showed up in early February, mid-February in Dunedin, and I see Varsho taking BP, like max effort, hitting home runs, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like this guy's ready right now. But it's throwing. It's the act of throwing and driving the shoulder through that is the problem. And he's gotten out to throwing 120 or so feet, but the throws he's making from center are a lot more than that. So the Blue Jays are kind of treating him like a pitcher. They're measuring how hard he's throwing. He's actually going to be up in Toronto on opening day to get his Gold Glove Award and then leave. He goes back down to Dunedin. He's going to work with Kevin Kiermaier, actually, the special assistant to the organization, Kevin Kiermaier, and they're going to try to ramp him up. The Blue Jays want him ready in April. If he's ready in April, that makes this whole roster better. Because right now they're rostering Miles Straw and Nathan Lucas, two guys to kind of cover center. Once Varsho is back, that's all you need in center. Roden can back him up, whatever. And you can tinker with this roster a bit more. So he's close. Shoulders are very tricky. There's also the element where he loves to run into the wall at full speed. I don't know how that works. I guess you figure it out once you figure it out. But he's close, and when he's back, that's when this gets a little more exciting offensively.
Okay, I like this. I like that he's not far off. In the bullpen, highlights for you. I know what my highlight is. Maybe the best name we've seen in years, Richard Lovelady. Richard Lovelady.
Sometimes with a name like that, you better be good, you know?
Yeah.
This bullpen is still a worry for me, honestly. It was very weak last year. Last year was a mess. One of the worst bullpens we've seen in Toronto. Everything went bad at the same time. There's a huge element of luck and variance in a bullpen. It all went bad last year. This year, you bring in Jeff Hoffman, who I think can be one of the better closers in Major League Baseball. He's that good. Very, very good backhand arm. Jimmy Garcia, everyone loves the dude. He's a solid backhand option. Chad Green needs to be good too. What really hurts them, Dan, I think, is losing Eric Swanson right now. He's going to be rehabbing these next few weeks. You hope that he gets back. He's dealing with that nerve issue through his elbow and forearm. If he's back and good, that raises the ceiling. But where they're at right now, without Swanson, without Ryan Burr, without Zach Pop, they're already leaning on a lot of depth, which means that, yes, you can look at that as, hey, they're one healthy guy away from being better. I've learned to look at that as being they're one bad day away from it being way worse. And coming into this season, they need to survive as a bullpen. They're not going to have the best bullpen in baseball. That's okay. They need to survive. They need to be that number 14 or 15 bullpen, get to the trade deadline, and add a couple of people. Because right now, this looks like a group that is not as built up as I thought it would be come this time. The X factor, though, Dan, is Yariel Rodriguez, the starter that's moving into the bullpen. I love it when a personality matches a role on a roster. I think Yariel is that dude who can be intimidating as hell, scary, dripping sweat, sprinting in from the bullpen, like kind of that wild thing coming in. I hope he embraces that because he's got it. Like he is, even when I interview him, I'm looking into those eyes, I'm thinking, my God, I better not ask something stupid. So Yariel is cool in this. I can't wait to see him. But this whole group, I'm not sold yet.
In the past, the Jays would bring in former Jays to camp. Like, have they ever brought in Tom Henke and Dwayne Ward to talk to this pen? And further to that, did they bring in anyone in this spring training, former Jays?
I would love to see those two guys in, man.
They were the best.
They were
was the
way ahead of their time.
Yes, it was awesome.
Like, those are two pitchers. Like, I was talking to Dwayne Ward, with Dwayne Ward about this a couple of years ago. Like, you could drop him in today, and it would work. Like, this isn't one of those guys throwing 88. Like, he could pitch today. And a couple of his seasons where he was flirting with 100 innings, like, that blows me away. You do see some guys through camp. Pat Henkin is always there, and he's like a Blue Jays lifer. Being around him is really energizing. He works with a lot of the young pitchers constantly, and he's a great example. I mean, goodness, Pat Henkin threw like 700 and some innings in the minors. He was throwing 190 inning seasons in single A. Like, if you did that to a prospect now, you would go to jail. Like, things have changed so much at this point. A couple of the guys around, there's, of course, Edgar Martinez has been around camp, not a Jays alum, but someone working with the hitters. Kevin Kiermaier's been around. Edwin Encarnacion is the most present one lately.
Like Pat Borders. We need a Pat Borders in there.
Borders. But Edwin, man, has retired how I want to retire, man. He's just sauntering around. He's twirling the bat. He'll hit the odd dinger. He looks like he's having fun with it. But he's worked with a lot of the young Latin hitters, a lot of the Blue Jays up-and-coming power hitters, which is great. But the more alum you can get around, man, because I'm a big believer in that. Not only does it help them baseball-wise, but it helps to establish, like, listen, you can become a god in Toronto. If you do everything right, you can turn into Edwin. You can turn into Jose. You can turn into Joe Carter, where you do not have to buy a beer for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Type of thing. So it's cool to see them around. Would always love to see more. And, man, drop Ward and Henke right into the bullpen today, man. I love watching old clips of them. Love it.
I also love that Tom Henke, sometimes he'd come in, one-run game, he'd walk the bases loaded and then strike out three guys in a row. It was like, what the hell are you doing to our nerves? It was
there
great.
There we go. The old Jordan Romano classic. He liked to make it interesting.
Yeah. What your thoughts on the Jays starting rotation?
Rock solid, man. Max Scherzer is going to be the one that determines if this is a very good group or if the depth goes shaky. I think Kevin Gausman is going to have a year where he's competing for a Cy Young Award. I really do. He looks absolutely incredible. Last year, he was slowed in camp. He had shoulder fatigue, I think it was. And I've learned over the years that if you have to play catch-up in spring training, you're toast. You're done. He had to play catch-up all year, never really got his best strikeout stuff back, and still somehow had a 3.83 ERA over 180 innings, just on talent alone. This year, he is bigger, he's stronger, and he's on track. I think he's going to be incredible this year. Barrios is rock solid. You can write down his stat line already. Bassett will be good. I think that Bowden Francis is, he's not going to throw a no-hitter every day, but he'll be good. It's Max Scherzer that will determine if this is a great rotation or if things get shaky. Now, Scherzer is dealing with this weird thumb issue that he thought was grip strength, something he could strengthen. That has not helped it. And he says it flares up when he's getting over 50 pitches. You hope to God he's getting over 50 pitches. So this is a bit dangerous. I think they're going to have to manage this week to week. Maybe he misses a couple along the way. We'll see. But if you get, 22 starts from Max Scherzer, take it. You're happy. And you can fill in the rest along the way. But this rotation, incredible floor. Is there much ceiling? They're not going to be the number one rotation in the league, but I'd bet a good dollar they'll be number 5 or 6, something like that. But they will not be the reason the Blue Jays lose, if they lose. And this rotation's a real strength, and Jesus, you've got to make it work while they are here. I know we say the same about Vladdy and Bo, but this rotation's rock solid, and you cannot waste this. This rotation has not been given a chance to handle a full postseason series, which they're built for. They need to just get there, because if you don't, Dan, 5-10 years from now, we're going to be looking back and saying, oh, this is a great offense they have in 2032. If only they had that pitching staff from the last generation of the Jays. It's that good. They just got to get it somewhere.
By the way, if you saw that in the description for a house, great floor, don't know about the ceiling, I wouldn't go see that house.
I love it.
And we can't forget the catchers.
Alejandro, the $58 million man. Good for him, man. Those are the type of extensions that I think are meaningful and I love to see. That's Vladdy's going to get his money, Bo's going to get his money. For Alejandro Kirk, he did not make $1 billion as a prospect signing bonus. So that's the type of contract that sets up a family for generations. That's cool. And Alejandro Kirk has earned this, man. He is one of the most unique players in Major League Baseball. There are not many players built like him. Not many players play like him. And the way John Schneider said it the other day was that sometimes he doesn't even know if Kirk is awake back there. You could set off a bomb next to Alejandro Kirk, and he's not going to blink. It is unbelievable how steady he is. Last year wasn't good. He was not driving the ball, and if Alejandro Kirk is just slapping the ball around, he's out. He's not going to beat out any ground balls. That's not part of who he is. But he's been driving the ball more this spring and is an excellent defender, excellent receiver of the baseball, excellent blocker of pitches in the dirt. So this contract is really good value. I was surprised at the number. I thought the number would be higher. And the Blue Jays are also getting Alejandro Kirk through his age 31 season. So while he may not profile as well long-term as some other Blue Jays, physically, I think that's the way I'll frame it, you're only getting him up to age 31. That's really good business. I think the Jays nailed this extension. I've been critical of a lot they've done. I can't be critical of this. Okay. So Kirk in there will play as much as he can. You don't want to wear him out, but maybe that's 115 starts behind the plate. Backup catcher could change through the year. It's Tyler Heineman right now. The Jays love him. Great dude in the clubhouse. They'll have Christian Bethancourt, Ali Sanchez in AAA. But that's a position we could continue to see addressed on the waiver wire, churning through, trying to find someone. John Schneider, he used the old baseball saying that a backup catcher can either really hit or really catch. So they need one of those things, but this is Kirk's show, and I would argue, Dan, that he is the most important player on the team right now, because if he gets hurt, it is a significant drop-off to how they would have to handle it.
Okay. Jays had 74 wins last year, so let's put the over-under at 74.5. What are you taking?
I think they'll be closer to at least a 500 range team this year.
Okay.
And that is not where you want to be. You'd rather be projecting at 94. But the American League this year does not have a version of the Dodgers. You know what I mean? The AL East sucks to be in. You don't want to be in the AL East. I don't care how many players tell me we love the competition. No, you don't. You'd rather be with worse teams. But outside of the AL East, the American League is not exactly stacked. And I think that the second and third wild cards, those spots chasing on the back end, I think the Blue Jays will be in that as long as they don't royally screw this up. And you're not going to need to win 92 games like you did in 2021 when they missed in that heartbreaker with 91 wins. You'll be able to get in with that mid-upper 80s win total. And, Dan, I think the path for the Blue Jays this year, honestly, is to survive until the trade deadline. Because at that point, everyone's jobs are on the line. Contracts are running out. There's urgency. There's pressure. Survive until the trade deadline and then go absolutely bananas. Like, go out and make the biggest splashes you can. Take one more run at this thing. If it fails, I'm talking to all new people next year. We know how this is going to work. But if it works, fantastic. You reset this entire thing. And they can stay involved. That's all they need to do. Stay involved through the summer. Yes, you'd wish there was a higher bar. But stay in this, man. The AL is not going to run away from you at this point.
Keegan, I wish you the best of luck surviving this season. It all begins on Thursday, and we'll be talking to you and checking your sanity throughout the season.
Ooh, the decline will be interesting to watch, Dan, I tell you. I love it. Looking forward to it. Only 162 left. It sounds so small. We're going to have some fun with this.
Let's play ball, baby.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.